operating now in increasing percentage of normal operations and be able to use those lessons to guide what we do as a future. Again, pointing to the data, the evidence, watching as it evolves over the next many weeks to determine the path forward for the state.
It's a way just reinforcing, or let me, if I may, reinforce what Dr. Galley is saying. It's an iterative process, and again, one which we're constantly engaged with, our mind not made up, but interested in evidence, and the data bears fruit. The EPI data shows us the way and provides us the capacity to make determinations. We will make those determinations in real time. Includes, by the way, conversations that are ongoing. Just as a reminder, for theme parks, amusement parks, and the like, there's still many areas where we are open-ended in terms of our negotiation, making progress and advancing in the same space, getting closer to concluding when and how to safely reopen those sectors.
Phil Whelan, LA Times.
Hi, Governor. I'm sure you're aware that this past weekend, there was a prayer gathering at the state capitol that drew about 3,500 people on the lawn. The video and photos of it clearly show that most people weren't wearing masks. Most people were standing shoulder to shoulder. The CHP issued a permit for the event, even though gatherings of that size go against public health directives. I'm curious, where for you is the line between public health and First Amendment rights, and do you think that this event crossed that line?
Yeah, I'm getting more information about the details of the event, so I cannot opine about the nuance and details. Some report at 12,000 people. You say 3,500. I heard as low as 2,500 from someone else. So we're in that process of gathering all those facts. As you know, our focus this weekend was a little bit different in terms of some emergency rescues and some efforts to deal with our energy supply as well as mitigate the spread of additional fires. But we're getting those details. I'm going to learn more about them this afternoon, getting a full report on what occurred over the weekend. Let me just say this, though, as a point of consideration. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you get a permit to do something and you say you're going to do the right thing, then you need to do the right thing. And you also, all of us need to lead by example. If you're going to request a permit, you're going to put other people's lives at risk. I think one has to do that with their eyes wide open, very soberly, and we all have to be, I think, well, cognizant
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Duffy. Widespread PG&E power safety shutoffs are happening right now across 22 counties. So we want to make sure that you're prepared because they could last through tomorrow night. More than 170,000 customers are expected to lose power because of fire danger. This is a live map of PG&E's power shutoffs. Those purple triangles show where the shutoffs are right now, and that purple has been flooding the map all morning long. People in parts of Amador, El Dorado, Nevada, Placer, Tuolumne, and Yuba counties are already affected. Moments ago, Governor Gavin Newsom updating us, saying since just August 15th, which is less than a month ago, we've since had more than 900 fires. Take a listen.
This is historic. This is the largest fire season we've had in terms of total acreage impacted in some time back, recorded recent modern history. But nonetheless, you put it in comparison terms, in contrast to last year, it's rather extraordinary, the challenge that we faced again so far this season, 2020. Since just, August 15th, just a few weeks back, we have had over 900 fires statewide.
And with Newsom's comments in mind, I want to turn now to our live team coverage. We have ABC 10 reporter Monica Coleman on deck in Nevada City, where schools are trying to work through these outages. But first, we're turning things over to Carly Gomez, tracking the fire danger and answering all of your questions. Carly, what are you seeing from a meteorologist perspective?
Yeah, right now, Mike, what we're dealing with is not just the strong winds, the fire danger concerns because of those winds, but also some bad air quality. We've been seeing record-breaking temperatures, which also doesn't help with the ozone layer. It kind of traps all the pollutants. And this is what we're looking at outside right now. As of 1 p.m., you're seeing some very unhealthy to hazardous air quality across Sacramento, all the way through the valley toward Modesto, Tracy, Stockton. Take a look at the expanse of this. And then Roseville now seeing very unhealthy air quality, whereas earlier this morning we did see moderate air quality for a lot of spots in the foothills. Now we're starting to see that the unhealthy air quality is shifting its way through the foothills and moving through the Sierra as the winds continue to pick up. So air quality is not good today. And overall, we're seeing unhealthy air quality for Sacramento, Yolo, Solano, Placer counties, moderate in El Dorado. But you know what? It is starting to shift quickly. And that's the thing with all these winds, is that they don't sit the pollutants in place all day. Everything is being dispersed every hour, every half hour. We're seeing a shift in the winds and the direction of the pollutants, where they settle. So this is really an ongoing story today, is where these pollutants are going to settle and how much of this bad air quality will sit overhead for us through the evening hours. Now, this is what we're looking at in terms of the red flag warning. This really pushes up all the way into the Pacific Northwest through Washington, as many people are dealing with wildfires in Washington and Oregon right now, just like we are in Northern California. Now, you can see the red flag warning takes up Nevada and portions of Arizona. Meanwhile, the crazy weather here is also contributing to some winter-like weather in Denver, where they're looking at freezing temperatures. So this really has been quite the year. Now, for us, with the air quality, that is settling in the Fresno area and through much of the valley toward the Grapevine. But what's a big concern is humidity. Take a look at this map. Anything really under 20% humidity is also a contribution to why we have a red flag warning. It takes low humidity, also the strong winds, along with dry fuel, which is grass, brush, all on the ground to contribute to the red flag warning. And we're looking at 12% humidity in Sacramento, Stockton, Fairfield areas, as low as 7% right now in Placerville. Very low, and we expect this to continue to drop even as low as 5% for some areas later on this evening. Now, what we do expect to happen wind-wise is things are going to continue to ramp up into your evening hours. We are looking at those winds 25 to 30 miles per hour in the valley. And even with spots like Auburn, that says 11 miles per hour, that's just being registered at the weather center there. But take a look around it. You're looking at some red zones. That's about 30 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts. So don't just look at the numbers, also look at the colors, because that's going to tell you how strong those gusts are going to be. That's as of 4:30 p.m. Now take a look as we start moving into the evening hours. Things in the valley will settle down just a bit. But notice how strong these winds get through the foothills and Sierra later tonight. We're talking wind gusts as high as about 50 miles per hour, and then we'll continue to see those winds starting to ease up through the evening hours. But even as early as about 5 a.m. or so, we'll still continue to see those winds settling through much of the Sierra and foothills. Meanwhile, the valley will slow down around 8 a.m. You notice there 5 to 10 mile per hour winds. The coastal range is also a concern. Take a look at Santa Rosa. They're also dealing with some strong wind gusts there. As we start moving past our Wednesday lunchtime hour, we should get a better grasp on this and we won't have a red flag warning in place any longer. Now, this is important. I want to show you this because these are the largest wildfires in California history. You notice a lot of them actually have to do with lightning. You have the lightning complex fires and then the August complex, which is also lightning related. The Thomas fire is a power line related one. Mendocino, that is human related. Now, these have burned so many acres. You're seeing hundreds of thousands of acres burned, and these are all within the last 5 years, even 3 years for that matter. But I do want to show you this because this is what makes it so interesting, is that the lightning caused fires take up about 40%. Whereas human-related are 35% of those 20 largest wildfires. But check out the power line caused ones. It's only 20%, but notice here that it accounts for 94 deaths, the power line related. And this all kind of goes into play about why we're shutting off power and why power lines have been so detrimental to these big fires, because they've taken most of the human life. Now, the high pressure system in place here, you notice that that jet stream really is digging up into Alaska. That is a major ridge. When you see things like this doesn't allow for major low pressure systems to move in to bring in some cool air, or even for the matter, bringing in moisture. And that's what's keeping us from getting any sort of rain right now. What we're looking at is temperature-wise, 100 degrees today, so that's about a 10-degree drop from yesterday's projected highs. Low 90s Wednesday and into the weekend, so we are getting closer to the average temperatures for this time of year, which are typically 89, 90 degrees. We will stick around with those mid to low 90s moving into next week, Mike, which is some good news for us because this 24-hour event is only lasting really 24 to 36 hours when you account for the PG&E shutoffs, but the winds hopefully die down a lot quicker tonight and we don't see anything start up because of those winds.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be much better weather. But, I wanted to emphasize something that you pointed out, which is so many of these fires are actually human caused. And I think we forget about that a lot of times. And, what can people do? What are some things that tend to contribute to those human caused fires?
No, great question. A lot of the human caused fires, you get people with camping sites, right? They're not extinguishing fires right away. I mean, some of the most recent ones are things that could be prevented, like dragging chains off your car, not realizing how low your tow is. Some people just pull over into grass on the side of the freeway. Avoid the grass, gravel area as much as you can, because at those points, that can spark a fire very easily. And with the low humidity that we have right now, it is just anything can spark a fire. It is that dangerous right now. And of course, defensible space. That's what people are told earlier, like in spring before summer hits, to try to clear all the brush, all of the bushes around your house, create space from your house to where a fire might actually come in. That way you have time, you have areas that the fire cannot actually burn into, and that'll help to protect you and your family.
All right, Carly Gomez, some great advice there. We'll check back in with you just a little bit later. All right, so many schools are following distance learning because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which means that they rely on power to go online to access their school. Well, right now, we're working to learn more about how these outages will impact that. So take a look in El Dorado County. We have confirmed both the Camino Union and Placerville Union school districts will close tomorrow. In Nevada County, the Twin Ridges Elementary School District will be closed. In Plumas County, Chester and Greenville schools will be closed. And we've reached out to other school districts across our area. So stay with us for updates on air and online at abc10.com. Well, Deer Creek Elementary School in Nevada City is one of the schools that canceled classes today. And that's where Monica Coleman is live this morning. Monica, what's the school district telling parents when it comes to these power shutoffs?
Mike, Nevada City School District students will not be required to go to class today due to the power shutoffs. The school district announced on their webpage this morning that school is canceled due to the power shutoffs. Also, the board meeting that was planned for also will be canceled. They say that there's no word on when the school will go back to regular scheduled, but they are hoping that it's sometime this week. I spoke with a teacher at Deer Creek Elementary School. She said all of her kindergartners are learning from a distance, and she says that she hopes that by Thursday she'll be able to reconnect with them. Also, I spoke with the teacher and she told me that they are prepared for things like this due to the power outage that happened in the past. and I have an interview later on with the superintendent on what parents can expect. Now remember, in August when the school reopened, they had a hybrid plan for students. Some were going to be distance learning, others were going to be learning physically on campus. But without power, students can't plug in their laptops at home, and teachers can't teach the lesson in the dark on campus at school. So as we get more information, Mike, we'll be giving it to you online and on air.
All right, and it's hard to believe these students are just in the perfect storm, right? They are home because of the pandemic. Now they can't charge their devices. Now they can't even get online. Who would have thought this was going to happen? Hard to believe. All right, thank you, Monica. So I want to check back. Oh,
yeah, the teacher.
Go ahead, Monica.
Yeah, the teacher was telling me, I asked her what is she telling her students to do in this period of no lesson plans. And she said that she's telling them to work on their assignments that she had already assigned at the beginning of the week, and hoping that by the end of this week, they'll be able to reconnect and pick up where they left off.
Yeah, super teachers. Every one of them deserves a raise. Okay, thanks, Monica. And now let's check back in with Carly Gomez, because of course, a lot of you want to know when this is going to be over. And all that really depends on the weather, doesn't it, Carly?
Yeah, it all depends weather-wise, what's going on. And we've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of people asking us during our digital Facebook Lives, on air, and been texting in a lot of questions regarding the PG&E shutoffs. We've got a lot of good ones. Of course, we can't get through all of them, but I will note and talk about some of them that are important that have been multiplied. We've been getting a lot of the same questions too. So let's get to one of them. What's the longest power can be shut off? Well, PG&E says they are hoping to cut time in half from the 2019 power shutoffs and be back up for areas in 12 daylight hours. Of course, we know that some areas will see longer power shutoffs, but with severe weather, it could be several days for some. Now, I know the city of San Jose lists that PG&E can be off as long as 7 days, so that also gives you a different perspective on what other cities are saying in terms of how long. But everything really comes down to how long the weather situation is going to last. Are we looking at a lot of the winds still picking up? Those are always big concerns, and typically we always see these major events either 0 to 5 days at least episodes, I should say, when it comes to how many power shutoffs happen each year. We have about 0 to 5 episodes a year is on average what they say, at least on their website. All right, let's answer more questions. How do I stay cool with no air conditioning, right? Well, you want to start by preparing early. Prepare your home when you know, at least some people have been given at least 2 days notice that this was going to happen. Prepare your home. Grab blankets, drapes, cover all the windows. Make your house as dark as possible and make sure you're getting in the cool air when it's around. So sometimes we've been getting morning lows as low as 70, even 80 degrees. So it's been still warm, but whenever day you can find that has the coolest air, let it in and then close up pretty quickly. Now, another reminder too is if you have fans running all day, all that does is circulate hot air. If you're not in the room, you're not actually benefiting from the cool down. So turn off the fan if you're not sitting in the actual room, because it's just generating heat at that point. All right, keep an ice chest handy. This is a good one, and I like this one. This is actually a trick I've used recently. If you have a bag of ice, you want to keep it compact and not actually open it, because once you open it, you're allowing the heat, you're allowing air to move between the ice cubes. That helps it actually melt faster. If you keep it all compact together and put everything you need underneath that actual ice bag in the ice chest, it'll last much longer. And obviously having a portable fan is always handy. You splash your face with water and then you put the fan over it. That's just an easy way to do it. And if you can, find a cooling center near you. Cooling centers will keep you nice and cool when you need it the most, and then you can go back home when it's a little bit more tolerable in your house. When will it rain? That's always the big question people want to know. Climatologically, we get rain on average from different points of the month. So sometimes we can get it as early as, mid to late October. Sometimes it's taken until mid-November. So it's really dependent on the year, what's going on El Nino over the oceans, things like that. But I do want to show you what's happening in our area right now when it comes to the rain. Take a look at this again. I want to show you this because the high pressure system is what really shows you what's happening. Off the Pacific, that expansion and dominance of the high is angling up and reaching up the jet stream so far north past Canada toward Alaska, that is not allowing any moisture to move into our area whatsoever at this point. What we are seeing is all the moisture is digging into areas like Denver, where they're actually looking at snowfall right now, if you can believe that, because they just got over a heat wave. Now, we do have areas of low pressures forming off the coast of California, except right now the current cold front that's pushing through is creating winds, but you can actually get some lows that are dry. You can get cold fronts that are dry. They don't produce any rain. So right now, to answer that question about when will the rain come, we're going to have to wait and see. It's definitely not coming anytime soon, at least not for the next 10 to even 15 days, but we could look at closer to the at least mid-October. All right, answering your questions, when will temperatures start to drop? Well, we're looking at temperatures right now on the average in the upper 80s, 89 degrees, 90 degrees. That is average this time of year. We are going to see closer to average temperatures as soon as tomorrow and toward the end of the work week. Take a look at this. Yesterday's high was 105. It was projected to be right around 107 or so, 105. So we're pretty much on par with what we expected yesterday. 89 though, again, that is the average this time of year. We are pretty far off from that as of yesterday, but as we start moving into tomorrow, we are getting a lot closer. So that is some good news for us. Take a look at this. Tuesday, 100 degrees, that's today. We expect that to be our temperature. We drop way closer to our average this time of year by tomorrow, and we're also going to see the winds dropping off tomorrow. So very good news for us as we start to move through the week. Hopefully, we only have this one event, but honestly, I highly doubt it. We could definitely see more of these red flag warning events happening. We've seen them even as late as December, and it's up to Christmas time when we've had some of these fires burning. Now, is gas also being turned off, or is it just electricity? That's actually a really good question. Gas lines, though, are typically found underground. They're 2 feet underground, as low as about 18 inches even. So gas lines being underground do not have the same effect as power lines, because power lines, obviously, we see them. We walk outside, you look up, and you see them. Those rattle, those shake when the winds happen. Those are what's causing sparks to happen, grass to be lit. Gas lines just don't do that. Although, when we do have wildfires happening in certain zones, they will shut off gas lines so we don't see big explosions when fires move through, rolling through homes or neighborhoods. You don't want to see those gas lines blow up where you used to have maybe your stove or your oven. So again, power lines are in the open air and dangerous during windy, dry days. That's why we're seeing the power and the electricity be shut off. All right, if you don't have internet or smartphone, how can you get information on the power outages? Well, you can call 800-743-5000. That's 800-743-5000. Now, I know it's very similar to like 311. You're old school, using the phone to call in, but hey, that's still a good resource to be able to call in. And of course, there are centers and resource centers. If your phone's dying, you need a plug-in, you need a charge, and make sure you're checking around your neighborhood, your city, and your county. Well, so far, we're going to continue to answer your questions, especially on Facebook Live. What you have in the comments, we'll try to get through as many as we can and get those answered for you. I'll send it over to you, Mike.
Carly, you and I both spent a lot of time in Oregon where those big wildfires just went unchecked until there was the first rain event of the year. But I'm kind of encouraged by the fact that these fires are being largely surrounded. Like, there is a fair amount of containment on them at this point in time.
Yeah, you know what? That's been such a good thing to note. We have been getting a lot of help, and it hasn't just been our CAL FIRE friends. It's been a lot of friends across the world. We helped out with the Australian fires. Now we're getting help from people in Australia. Just similar things where you help out another country, they come in and help out themselves. So it's been so nice to be able to get some more of this containment. And there's definitely plans in order, and you notice that a lot of fire crews earlier, even this year, we did CAL FIRE stories where they were trying to clear out brush. They were setting things on fire early during the spring when they could to clear out that debris in case it did catch fire later. Of course, we can't set the whole state on fire and try to do that. It's not as manageable to have that many people out doing that and clearing brush, but there are ways to mitigate this. And it honestly, starting with your own home, that's the number one line of defense, is if you can help to create your own space to where you have a line of defense, especially for those that live in maybe Placer County, counties that are dealing with the major shutoffs there. That's going to be most helpful for you, your property, and help out some firefighters as well.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of great progress. But like you said, first real rain event of the year, probably not coming until a month from now at the earliest. So a lot to keep in mind there.
Yeah,
all right.
The earliest.
All right, thanks, Carly. And a reminder for all of you watching, if you or a loved one needs information about these preventative shutoffs and the wildfire danger in your area, just text the word POWER to 916-321-3310. Our team of experts is standing by to answer your questions and get you the information that you need. And to get breaking news alerts anytime about these outages and weather conditions in your area, just download the ABC 10 app. It's free in your app store. We'll have live updates right here and online throughout the day to make sure you know what's going on. Now to the latest on the fires burning in our state. This morning, more people are being forced to leave their homes after extreme weather conditions prompted new evacuations in the LNU Lightning Complex fires. This is happening in the area of the Walbridge fire in Sonoma County. The new order covers the location south of Mill Creek Road, north of Sweetwater Springs Road, west of West Side Road, and east of Palmer Creek Road. So far, the LNU complex has burned more than 375,000 acres, with containment now at 91%. And take a look at this new video from Mammoth Pool Reservoir in the Sierra National Forest. And that's where the creek fire is burning. It's burned more than 104,000 acres since just Sunday. Today, we're seeing new evacuations related to that fire burning through the hills near Fresno. More than 1,000 fire personnel are working to fight those flames on rugged terrain. And we know of several people, hikers, residents among them, who are still waiting to evacuate. And those evacuations are prompting the United States Forest Service to close all national forest campgrounds in California. With smoke, heat, and wildfire danger, that's likely the last place that you'd, of course, want to be right now. But the Forest Service is saying this is a mandatory closure of campgrounds. If you had reservations, you can get a full refund, but there's no word yet on when those campgrounds will reopen. And this is the first time in 13 years that a national forest has been closed. And now to our continuing coverage of the preventative shutoffs happening right now. This morning, our Carlos Herrera visited Nevada City to see one of the 47 PG&E community resource centers now open across Northern California. Those have been set up in areas where PG&E expects power that will be out for at least the next 24 hours.
Bill Papani was the first person to show up at Elks Lodge in Nevada City.
I work from home. Was working last night. My laptop ran out of power this morning, so I can't do anything.
His home, just a few miles away, lost power last night. Today, he says he has no other choice but to come to the resource center, where he plans on spending the entire day working before going back to his family.
So you have no power, no water, no Wi-Fi. You know, the only alternative is to come here or go find a hotel somewhere.
PG&E says people left in the dark like Papani can show up at the resource centers to charge their phones, get Wi-Fi, snacks, and water. There are also clean porta potties and tables available. Most centers are outdoors with social distancing guidelines in place, and all require you to wear a mask.
The outside open-air tents allow us to serve more customers and maintain safety from a COVID-19 perspective.
At this point, Papani doesn't know where he and his family will spend the night. He says this time around, they were able to at least store food in freezers. But although he's thankful for PG&E's 48-hour heads up,
I mean, PG&E's done a good job of at least giving advance warning.
And understands it's all to prevent wildfires from sparking.
I do acknowledge that there's a risk, but I question how extensive they do this.
He says it's the uncertainty about when power will come back on that upsets him.
It seems pretty extreme to me.
That was Carlos Herrera reporting. Again, there are 47 community resource centers run by PG&E open right now, and they have things like charging stations for phones, free water, and snacks. Just visit abc10.com/links for the full list of those locations. And there are several resource centers now open, like we said, in multiple counties. And if you need one, you need to check it out. But if you need that information or any information related to the heat and wildfire danger, you can just text us. The number is right there on your screen. Just text the word POWER to 916-321-3310. Our team of experts is standing by to answer your questions and get you all the information that you need. In El Dorado County, businesses are working hard to stay positive while pivoting during a pandemic. And now preventative power shutoffs by PG&E. ABC 10's Kevin John was in Placerville speaking to a small business owner about how he plans to make it through.
Yeah, I'm here in downtown Placerville, right off Main Street, which is a popular strip in this area. And although the power is out all around here, that's not preventing certain small businesses from finding alternative solutions. Al currently runs the Placerville Public House Pub off Main Street, and as he sets up this morning, he knows this is not an ordinary day of business.
It's been a challenge. It's just one thing after another. You know, we're jumping through hoops. It seems like every week we have a new challenge to face, and we're trying to figure it out as we go. And it's honestly, it is. We have no other choice but to persevere and push through it. You know.
Fortunately, Al has had experience with power shutoffs before.
Well, last year when this started, we got ourselves a big generator, started running lines and extension cords to just get the bare minimum, keep our coolers cold, bare minimum on the cooking, and limited menu.
With all that's been going on this year with the pandemic and now the power shutoffs, Al is just trying to remain optimistic.
But people are responding well. We have a lot of support from the community. People love to come out and help us and show their support, and it's been really great. I think in this community, it's one thing that keeps us going is, the support around us has been tremendous,
Al went on to say that the name of the game this year is perseverance, because at this point, that's all they can do.
Let's keep supporting those businesses if we can. All right, let's take another look now at PG&E power outage map. All those areas marked in purple are places without power right now, and this is in real time. The map has been flooded with purple over the past few hours. Those outages began around 9 last night. Others just lost power before this show, and the power may be out until tomorrow night, so plan ahead.
If we have an opportunity to start the patrol and restoration process sooner than what's forecasted, we will do that.
PG&E is opening centers where you can charge devices, get internet, snacks, water. They're outdoors with social distancing because of the pandemic. Doors opened at 8 this morning, and they'll stay open throughout the day. So PG&E does say it's doing things differently this year, of course, when it comes to the power shutoffs. Becca Habiger shows us what changes the company says we should expect to see.
In a new video, PG&E says its goal this year is to reduce the amount of people impacted by each power shutoff and shorten the amount of time the lights are off. The company says for each shutoff, they plan on having 2/3 the amount of customers affected compared to last year. How?
We are adding switches and sectionalizing devices to both our distribution and transmission lines that limit the size of outages. Developing microgrids that use temporary generators to keep the lights on in communities where it is safe to do so. And conducting targeted undergrounding of our power lines. We are also seeking to cut restoration times in half compared to 2019.
PG&E plans on cutting down on outage time by nearly doubling the amount of surveillance helicopters deployed to inspect lines after the weather danger has passed, and by adding more field crews, among other steps. This week's outages will show whether PG&E is on track to make these improvements come to fruition.
That was Becca Habiger reporting. Let's check back in with Carly Gomez now. What are you seeing in the forecast, Carly?
Yeah, right now, Mike, of course, we know the power shutoff's been happening because of the fire danger, and fire danger gets elevated when we know there's going to be strong winds, of course, that can rattle power lines, and that's what we saw with what happened in Paradise, the rattling of the power lines causing sparks. So that's what we're looking at. I mean, we know power outages aren't necessarily new. They've been happening for some time, but this, again, is for public safety. And I want to show you this. This is our air quality map, because along with the strong winds, we are looking at a lot of that air pollution coming in off the August complex fire. The winds are moving from the north to the east, coming in from the northwest. And this is where we're really seeing some hazardous air quality currently through Sacramento, Elk Grove, just there east of Vacaville toward Davis, Dixon. And then a lot of areas further south, Tracy, Stockton. So you're seeing a thick layer of that smoke out there in that haze. You're probably noticing some ash. There will be pockets, though, where you'll see some sunshine. And you're saying, what's going on? I don't see a hazardous condition in my area. But you know what? We are starting to see a lot of these pockets being shown up because of the wind, because it's so strong that it pushes pollutants in one area and disperses them in another. So they're settling in some zones and then really starting to disperse in another zone. So it's going to be like this all afternoon. Well, some areas are looking at maybe even moderate air quality. You're looking at that in Napa. Santa Rosa is seeing some pretty good air quality right now, but all of that is being pushed out of their way. Roseville, very unhealthy right now, all the way up through Auburn and toward the Sierra, where they're seeing unhealthy to unhealthy for sensitive groups. Later tonight, we do expect the winds to pick up, and that's where we're going to see the areas that are most prone to seeing the strong winds is through the Sierra. So today's air quality at least being shown as unhealthy for Sacramento, Yolo, Solano, Placer counties. Unhealthy for sensitive groups, San Joaquin and Stanislaus, although you just saw that map that showed they're in the hazardous zone. So again, you're getting pockets where you start to see very bad air quality, and then it eases up as soon as the wind shifts. So that's what we're going to look at throughout the day and through the evening. So what I always try to say is don't just rely on what's being said or shown as what's projected for that day. Stand outside. Is it really ashy? Can you breathe? Is it easy to run in this? If your answer is no, then you should probably try to stay indoors. Now, what we're looking at is a vast area where we're looking at a red flag warning. Again, red flag warning. That means you have strong winds, low humidity, so bone dry out there anything could spark. And this is going all the way up through the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon already getting fires started. Northern California is dealing with their own fires. And of course, the spread of current fires that were already contained, we're hoping that those continue to stay contained. Then you could see some more fires starting up through Nevada potentially. And you can see Phoenix there toward the west of Arizona, also Southern California. So many people are going to be dealing with this red flag warning today and into tomorrow because of the strong winds. Let's check on the humidity right now. 11 to 12% humidity. That's really low. Again, anything under 20%. Really goes in and is considered when it comes to a red flag warning. 18% in Marysville, you can see some of the low zones there. Again, 7% in Placerville, even some pockets are as low as 5%. Now, the winds will begin picking up still through the evening hours. So we're currently looking at winds around 25 miles per hour in the valley. And you notice some of the spots that are orange. Those are wind gust zones. And you notice that they're also through areas where there's hilly terrain. The topography is a little bit different. You're starting to see mountains, foothills. There's little areas where the wind just continues to pick up through a stream there. And you'll expect those zones to see 30 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts in the valley and even as high as 50 mile per hour gusts, especially moving through tonight. So take a look at this. We start moving through tonight. You notice the zone shifts. Most of the Sierra seeing some orange and pink there. Those are some high elevation wind gusts that'll begin picking up late tonight. And that's also scary, because you have zones, you have areas that are dealing with where the power lines are. The power lines in the higher elevations have to go up and over the mountains. This is also where grasslands are. So this is when it gets scary. You want to have your stuff ready and packed and prepared in case you have to leave in the middle of a night. And that's what we're looking at here is tonight we will see some strong winds. So make sure you have all your valuables ready, especially when you know you live in an area prone to wildfires. And this isn't just for those people. This is for everyone, whether it's an earthquake, a wildfire. You want to make sure you are prepared. You have your backpack ready. You have anything that you can sustain and live off of for 3 days, food, non-perishable, stuff like that. All right, as we start moving in the early morning hours, you see those winds are still very strong from Auburn toward Truckee and then around South Lake Tahoe. So moving into the early morning hours, we finally start to see things slow down and through the Sierra as well and into the valley, 5 to 10 mile per hour winds. And then you see some spots around 20 mile per hour wind gusts. But again, that's the high Sierra and areas around the coastal range. So we will start to see things slow down, and hopefully that gives PG&E and restoration crews enough time to restore power for those, maybe hopefully even sooner, so many people can get their power back. The kids can get back to school. We can all get about our business. I do want to show you the 10-day forecast though, because this is going to show you when we can finally see a cool down, and that's actually tomorrow. Low 90s. The average this time of year is 89 degrees. So low 90s are going to continue through the week. Even into the weekend, we might get up into the mid 90s. But again, low 90s through the following week. We have no rain currently in sight. Not good, but you know what? We are going to be a little bit cooler. Hopefully we don't get a big wind event coming up, Mike. But at this point, at least we'll be a little cooler.
And at least we'll be out of that red flag warning. I think a lot of people will appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Carly. And taking another live look at the PG&E outage map right now, all of those areas marked in purple are places without power right now. So this is in real time and it's constantly changing. So make sure to stay tuned to this. It's been flooded with purple over the past few hours. The outages began around 9 last night. Others just lost power before the show began. And power may be out until tomorrow night, as you heard from Carly. So, and a reminder, if you or a loved one need information about these preventative shutoffs and the wildfire danger in your area, just text the word POWER to 916-321-3310. We've heard from a lot of you when we've been out on these stories. When the power's out, you don't get the TV. So here's a great opportunity. Our team of experts is standing by to answer your questions and get you the information that you need. Here at ABC 10, our viewers are our top priority, and that's why throughout the day, we're doing these live streams to keep you updated on the latest developments from PG&E and from our own meteorologists. Stay with us on abc10.com and on the ABC 10 app for updates on heat, winds, wildfires, and the preventative PG&E power shutoffs. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're live on ABC 10 next at 5, and then we'll have another update live online tonight at 9. You can watch that on our ABC 10 app, our website, abc10.com, and as always on Facebook Live. Enjoy your day.
you want me to touch upon